gentlemen, and welcome to the CCN News Media On Point this evening with Wanda Carter. I'm your host, and this evening we're going to be filling in for Brian Vickers, who is going to be talking about, or was supposed to talk about, wrongfully convicted people. People who are in prison, in jail, on the ankle bracelet, on parole, on what's the other one? Probation, for reasons that are not valid. They have been wrongfully convicted, and I know they're waiting for us to try to help them get out of these situations, because it seems like it's so many African Americans that are in prison for reasons for things they didn't commit. I want to take just a moment to welcome each of you to the show and to have each of you go around and introduce yourselves and give us a 1-minute elevator speech on who you are and what you do. So can we start with Dr. Jackson? You're online. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Dr. Don Jackson, and I'm the president and co-founder of the Community Peace Program, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization that seeks to eliminate outside the community. We want to do this by sponsoring events such as the Inglewood Battle Stars Talent Show, which features children 5 and 13. The money raised from this fundraiser will be placed in the fund, and anyone that is murdered in the Inglewood community,
Okay.
there will be an automatic reward for the apprehension and conviction of said individuals.
Should we get the code? Yeah. Hold on for a minute. I'm gonna stop. We need the people here can't hear you, so we gotta change the mic system. So just give me about 5 minutes. I'm just gonna mute everything, okay? Dr. Jackson, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the CCN News Media On Point this evening with wrongfully convicted folks. And we have so many of them in the state of Illinois and across the United States. This evening, we were supposed to be talking with Brian Vickers, who is our investigative reporter for wrongfully convicted people, but for some reason, he has not been able to tune in. So we're gonna go on and start the discussion without him. I'd like for everybody just to take a second to go around, introduce themselves and tell people who they are, and then we'll start the conversation. So can I start with you, Dr. Jackson?
Good evening. My name is Dr. Don Jackson, and I'm the president and co-founder of the Community Peace Program, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization that seeks to eliminate or greatly curtail the homicides in the Inglewood community. We want to do this by sponsoring fundraisers such as the Inglewood Battle Stars Talent Show, which features children 5 and 13, first place prize being $. We wish to either eliminate or greatly curtail the homicides in the Inglewood community. That's it.
Okay. I thought I was waiting with bated breath. I thought you had something else to say. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Naima, tell people who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, and I'm president of the online network of Associated Internet Radio Hosts, otherwise known as On Air, which produces a daily news website. And also I'm executive producer of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show and the Media Connection TV show and YouTube channels for both of those. And also we are launching a new television network entitled On Air, which we will be featuring the programs produced by those producers who are sharing uplifting, motivating, and enlightening programs designed to raise global consciousness.
Thank you so much, Naima. Girl, you just doing everything. We love you.
Like I'm trying to get like you when I grow up, I tell you.
Hey, Sandra, tell us who you are, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about you.
I don't have nearly as much to tell as Dr. Jackson and Naima provided.
Just being
I'm
She's joking.
I'm just a simple retired federal civil rights officer, community activist. I do a little consultative services for people who are still having issues with various problems in the workplace, especially when their rights are being violated. Other than that, I'm spending my time enjoying my grandchildren.
See, this is a popular lady. She just won't admit it. That's, she just won't admit it. And then we have Miss Levette Limo. Hey, Levette, tell us who you are.
Good evening, everyone. I am Levette Lemon. Levette's in my opinion. I'm trying to really see who I am today because sometimes I wonder myself. But I am a part of this media network, Chicago Communicated News Media, as an art and cultural journalist. And I'm also executive director of a nonprofit organization located at the Garfield Park Gold Dome. I am chair of Restoration Garfield Park, which Wanda is a part of that group with us. And we're working to restore 184 acres of beautiful parkland on the west side. And it's a host of other things. And I just hope that I can give some good energy to it all so that it works in the good of our community, our nation, our world, our universe.
Oh, thank you so much, Levette. That is so inclusive. She just said everything, the whole world. I want to take just a moment to have the folks in our studio introduce themselves. So I'm going to start with Mary.
Hi, I'm Mary Hartsfield, and I'm a volunteer with Exodus. I'm soon to be a part of the senior program with Exodus. I'm also an advocate for anything that needs to be done in our community, in our neighborhood. So I've been doing a lot of things.
All right. Thank you, Mary. And then
my name is Charlene Yomo. Right now, I'm putting myself as a farmer because I feel like farmers live by God's will. And my granddaddy was the last person in Evanston country.
Thank you. Sorry, should have muted myself. Sorry. I couldn't find the mute button in time.
Anyway, I'm here. I'm not here today, although I was able to. Evanston managed to get reparations legislated. My block got open housing off there, and I got to go to get the school turned back over. I'm not standing up here trying to brag. I am representing who we are as a people.
Amen.
Okay, those people that were able to do those kind of things, I don't even see them anymore. So I'm keeping them alive, so we all have something to go back to in our recent history when we were successfully getting out of slavery.
come on.
This is chaos we're living in right now.
Yes, we are.
And to continue to talk about it is taking time away from creating the solutions we need to change things. Because ain't nothing changed, we still going to the same.
Whoa, didn't she say that?
So what the hell do we have to talk about? Let's do something.
Let's do something.
Now, what I have found, even though Africa is in a situation, there's a lot of stuff that we were as Africans that we need to bring back to life. Some of that we need to just leave it there on, let it stay there. But we need that because that's where teaching
came from there. Okay.
And how can we go from being the teacher to being the dumbest people on the planet? Oh, you did. That's propaganda.
Propaganda.
And so anyway, it's not what we do, it's how we do it. And I just want to say that God gave us everything we need. We gotta believe in ourselves. We've got to put that envy, competition down and hold each other's hands.
You sound like my friend Naima, that's the way she talks.
That is so true. And make the love bigger among you.
Yes.
Amen. If the kids can feel the love, that's gonna get better.
I agree.
We
Love changes everything.
Yeah, we so caught up in this back and forth and stuff, love, that's bad.
Yes,
Yeah, and it's self-destructive. So the first thing we gotta do is learn how to hold hands and love each other.
Come on now, love, hold hands and love each other.
Whatever.
It's gonna be the end of this show.
Pie and all that, but that works.
All right.
Now, I'm going to tell some other stories about how to get somebody's attention if you want.
Hold on. Let's let Joy. All right, George, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is George. I'm president of Global City Unity. I'm also at the Exodus Institute. I'm one of the board members trying to also help put out programming, television programming, radio shows that will help the community and better the community and conditions of sin. Putting together non-profit projects for local non-profits as far as the TV is concerned, and helping expose and give them platforms for the last 20 to 30 years, and still on the quest to try to help better our community.
All right.
Yes.
Excuse me. I think he's also vice president of the Garfield Park Advisory Council.
I want to be too long with but you're absolutely correct. And we're trying to bring a lot of these projects through and incorporate them with some of the programs that we're doing at the Garfield Park Advisory Council.
So this evening, the discussion is focused on wrongfully convicted persons. I spoke with Brian the other day, which was why we decided to do this show. And he was telling me about some of the clients that he's working with that are in these institutions and how they have been convicted for crimes that they did not commit, and that they have these extremely long sentences.
Yeah.
You know, they're locked away for 30 and 40 years for something that they did not do, and they've been attesting to the fact that they didn't do it for all these years, and yet they're still in prison. And I was talking to Naima this morning on her show, and it just seems like this is a global thing where Blacks are incarcerated for things that they didn't do, and those that are incarcerated for what they did do, they have these very, very long sentences, far beyond what other people get for the same crime. So today, as you said, sister, we need to talk about what we can do to help those people, because they're locked inside those prisons, and most of their families may have somewhat given up on trying to help them get out, because maybe they're not clear on whether they did it or not, and or the biggest thing is that they don't have any money, any resources to help them get the attorneys that they need so that they can get out. Absolutely.
There was a book, I had gone back to school over in Northeast, and there was a book about Africa. And it was talking about a time this man, he owned some kind of plantation in Kenya or one of those African countries. And he had left and gone back to Britain for like 5 years. And when he went back to that African country, everything was just like he was there. Yeah. Because that's who those Africans were. Now, fast forward to where we are today, the script has been flipped. We have been made into being certain kind of people. And until we can find a way to address that by bringing them in with it, There's nothing more powerful than love. There's nothing more powerful than love. And we women were given that. If we join together as mothers, and generate that kind of love, we'll get to.
Come on now. Now you know she sound like you.
It has to be a joint effort.
It has to be a joint effort. It really
And
does.
in order for us to do that, we as women, we've been good at war, jumping over here and jumping over.
Now that's my friend Sandra.
That's what I ended going through. But anytime we get so caught up in that,
Right, we got problems.
we gotta step out of that lane.
Yes, we do.
That's all I'm saying.
Work
That's all I
to,
wanna say.
work to get those gentlemen, those women,
To get their attention.
to get their attention and to get the government's attention. I mean, who's locking up our people?
Well,
That's who's locking up.
Who's causing all the problem? Where is the issue stemming from? This is,
Just because they have a plan, we don't, that don't mean we gotta go for it.
Yeah.
That don't mean we gotta go for it.
that's right, that's right.
That's their plan. Are we gonna let them get away with it or what?
Now, Levette talked the other day about systemic,
Racism.
try to say this word, systemic racism. Not only racism, but you got classism, you got all these other isms. When we need to start at the base and work our way up to discover whatever action plan we need to put in place. Because we have to educate our people to realize that this is what you said, it was a plan. It's by design that this is happening to us.
Exactly.
And that it's happened all these years and that it continues to happen. Sandra, you were with the government. Just, you know, I mean, what's your opinion on how we've ended up in this situation where we're 13% of the population, yet the majority of us are in prison, on probation, on parole, we in jail. It's like we are just pawns on a chessboard.
We went for the okie doke.
We
went for the okie doke, that's what happened.
Sam, give us your feedback.
Well, my area of the law was civil rights. And I can tell you some of the problems that you have in the criminal system also spills over to the civil system. There's a lot of disparity when it comes.
Uh-oh, something happened with your internet.
Black
Oh, that sounds like you're in the water. Something's wrong with your video. Sam.
Employment, treatment. So, sorry. With my, you saying something's wrong with my video?
Yeah, it's something, you were like in a delayed state. You know, everything was slurred.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Hey, can you restate
Well, like I said,
it?
I was saying,
Couldn't hear you.
I come from the civil rights side. And
Okay.
civil law, also known as public law, is very different from criminal law. But I can tell you
Okay.
some of the same disparity and some of the same issues that I hear about on the criminal side also affects Blacks when it comes to their civil rights, when it comes to education, employment, housing, and even medical treatment. But the biggest problem I can tell you, based on my level, what I saw and what I see, is a lack of education, a lack of follow through. Again, sometimes they give up too easy. And when I say a lack of education, just not knowing the process or the systems. You said, Levette talked about systemic racism and systemic injustices.
Yes.
That right there means that there's a culture, that this culture is putting that out there.
Yes.
And that isn't going to change overnight. And Blacks are not as involved as they should be. And they can't seem to be organized because everybody you have all these little organizations. I was just looking up the torture center when you were, while she was talking. You have all these little bitty organizations all bidding for the same monies, the same recognition, the same
Yes,
the same area, instead of coming out as collaboratives and working together. And
working
again,
together.
choosing your battle, because again, this is something that is not going to change overnight, but you're going to
Right.
have to be persistent. Someone said that, I heard you say earlier something about, I hope it was you, saying that they didn't know what to do when it came to legal stuff. Many of the law schools will take on cases. I can actually tell you, I have a very, 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 very close relative whose son was incarcerated when he was 16 years old
Oh,
for the
my.
murder of a police officer. They had given him life, double life at 16. He actually stayed incarcerated for 26 years, I think it is. I think it was. He's been out maybe 3 or 4 years. And
Okay.
his mother's persistence and looking through and going through the legal system is what helped her get him free, because they had violated a lot of his rights as a juvenile. And I mean, it got to the point where it did change some of the juvenile laws, because juvenile laws have changed across the nation so that they don't make those kinds of mistakes. Again, by just not locking a juvenile up and throwing away the key, because you, as a matter of fact, you can't do that. But
Yeah.
again, how many other mothers and grandmothers didn't know and have not pursued that? Several people have
Exactly.
asked her to speak, to have speaking engagements. She's done a lot of different things. And some of them just got started trying to fight for their young person's freedom.
Yeah.
And he or she has been locked up for 15, 20 years.
That's what Brian was going to bring to the table tonight. He had 2 cases, and I can't go into those cases because I don't know enough about those cases. But he had 2 cases where the persons had been wrongfully convicted, and they found out through DNA later that this person was not the person that they thought he was, and he's supposed to go back to court and get the verdict changed, but his family didn't have the resources to hire a proper attorney, and the attorney that he had going into this situation was a public, what do they call him, public defender.
Public defender.
And they have all these cases that they have to deal with, and so that public defender didn't get around to really dealing with his case, to going into the depths of his case, and he ended up being incarcerated for over 40 years. And so I thought he was going to be on to tell us about it. We'll have to have him come on another time and tell us about it. But it is systematic racism. Livette, talk to us about your experience and your position on wrongfully convicted people that are incarcerated. What say you?
I have a personal story that the systemic part of it is, dealing with the system, intentionally harming young Black men. Number one, lack of jobs, lack of housing, lack of medical care, lack of mental well-being. And so my son was he was a medical laboratory technician in training at UIC. And he was moving up in the ranks. They loved him at UIC. He was chased by the police. And of course, a young Black man is being chased by the police, gonna run because he's fearful. So he ran to my grandmother's porch. They pulled him off the porch with everybody looking. and did a George Floyd on him. So as he was choking, the only way that he could survive was to bite the police. So when he did that, that was a record of violence against the police that cannot be expunged. So he lost his job and he spiraled all the way down, because every job that people say they loved him, when they got ready to hire him permanently, that record came up. And so as I look across the nation and I see wrongfully incarcerated, wrongfully pulled over, it sets a tone for destruction, because it is very depressing for you to know your potential and then to know that doors closed for you for something that you were not responsible for. And so, the solution, it is something that, in order for us to even put a dent in it, it has to be some kind of unity, some kind of togetherness, where we really discuss these things in length, and understand that the deck is sort of stacked against us in the sense of resources. And I'm not gonna rag on what happened today, but when I see all my brothers and sisters on the street, and then they set aside $51 million for immigrants that just came over, it's not about the immigrants, it's about what about us? And so, it's really sad, that we have people in position, and we have people in position in the state, in the city, and they're not speaking up against any of these atrocities. So it might be the ballot that we have to affect change.
Yes.
And so, that's just my opinion.
I'd like to have Naima speak to us for a moment about her position on this, because Naima has been an advocate of people working together, this unified approach to dealing with anything and everything. And I think that this is the time that we need to take that approach to deal with these people that are wrongfully convicted. I don't think that we need to give up on them, because if we give up on them, we're giving up on us, because we're the majority of people in those systems. And because of that, we need to help them get whatever restitution they can get. And so, Naima, what would be your approach to dealing with these people that have been wrongfully convicted, that have been, the key has been thrown away, they just in a 4x4 sale for how many years the judge decided that they needed to be there. And even though there may be new information that can help them be, that information doesn't seem to be available or be made available so that they can be used. What say you? What should we do about this situation?
We have to empower them with a vision of what they can be doing while they're there to prepare themselves for when they come out, because the intention that we must be committed